Welcome to another episode of AI Product Leader. Every week, we shine a light on what really takes to join the AI world. Real conversations with AI builders, founders, product leaders, experts, technologists, and everything in between to understand where AI is in the world right now and what the path looks like, whether you're building AI products or building an AI career. Have a question or topic? Email us at support@AI Career Boost to join the conversation. I'm your host, Polly Allen. I'm the founder of AI Career Boost, where I spend my time helping product managers and leaders navigate the world of AI and transition into AI leadership roles. I've spent my career in both the product management and software development sides of the world, and I'm an ex-Alexa principal product manager where I successfully launched the first generative answers on Alexa in 2020. I'm a top 100 Women of the Future winner, and I am extremely excited today to be welcoming Jessica Matthews to the show. Thanks so much for joining us, Jess. As the Vice President of Global Product Management at Gartner, Jessica is a powerhouse in B2B product leadership, focusing on innovative solutions for HR leaders and managing a portfolio that generates over $300 million in subscription revenue. Her impressive career includes launching new in kind B2B products and driving customer satisfaction in the competitive business intelligence market. With a master's in data science from UC Berkeley, Jessica brings a unique blend of technical expertise and strategic vision to her role. Passionate about fostering inclusivity, she serves on the executive advisory board for Lesbians Who Tech and Allies, and Jessica's combination of business acumen, innovation drive, and commitment to diversity make her a true trailblazer, bridging human-centered design with advanced technology in today's landscape. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're so honored to have you, Jessica. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I would love for you to introduce me at Thanksgiving dinner.
We're taking the show on the road.
Yeah, that's right. Mom, listen to this.
Here we go. It's all
Yeah.
true. It's all true. Well, fantastic. I'd love first to kick off just to get a little bit more about your background. It's fascinating to me because I know you have this extreme depth in technology now, but that's not where you started, right? Your background originally, you had a master's of arts, and you hadn't started in the technology world at all. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background before pursuing tech and AI?
Yeah, so I got my master's in telecommunications, which was really focused on technology and public policy. I was at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in DC. And then I moved into kind of the research world at a company called CEB, it's a research and advisory company. My first 5 years, I did both qualitative and quantitative analyst-like work supporting chief technology officers and their teams. And then from there, I moved into my first product management role, which is really working with the business line leader to roll out new products, create alliances with other organizations. From there, I got to work in a centralized product function, so it wasn't just working with IT clients, but marketing, finance, the whole gamut. And from there into corporate strategy.
Oh, amazing. And you've worked in the consulting worlds as well as product management, right? So across the board.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
incredible. That's awesome. Well, and so today at Gartner, I know you're leveraging you've done both you've lived in both the software development world as well as you have a master's degree from Berkeley in data science. Today you're leveraging that in AI in multiple ways across your role in Gartner. Let's talk first about some of the products and services that you deliver there and how AI is entrenched in there.
Yeah, so from my corporate strategy role, the company CB was actually acquired by Gartner. I got to move into their product team and launch their first ever offerings for the HR function. And so I've been working and growing that portfolio for the last 7 years. And it's been really an amazing journey to kind of see where HR has developed, especially going through the pandemic, and now with the emphasis on productivity. How do you enable that through skills development, change management? How do you ready your enterprise to use AI?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so what kind of interactions do you have? Your customers are HR, like head of HR, like what level are they?
Yeah, it's we're really focused on supporting chief human resource officers, chief people officers, and their teams, all the way to HR business partners, which is really the most kind of common role. So we support them in saving time and making better decisions. Specific to AI, that is, technology selection around human capital management, recruiting, ATS, all of that stuff. There's also kind of a bigger piece that we focus on, which is like, given the productivity implications of AI, the CHRO needs to have a seat at the table early to make sure you think about the people implications of those decisions, and the way that you're going to roll that out. How do you focus on like the talent outcomes that will be most important to business performance, and what role does AI play in that?
Oh, amazing. I can see how business analytics has just become increasingly important on that human side as we're like trying to measure, manage human capital in organizations. Increasingly, people want to see the data and outcomes from different initiatives, et cetera. So supremely important. And then internally, I'm sure you work with a lot of platform teams, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all of our subscription-based offerings are multi-channel. So we have our events and conferences, we have our Gartner mobile app, and then Gartner.com. Within Gartner.com, there are multiple platforms. So things like Buy Smart, which supports the customer journey for technology selection and the whole team and bringing them along on that journey. Peer community, which is similar to a LinkedIn, but very much focused on supporting practitioners and connecting around the work that you're doing. So there's no recruiting and no self-promotion on that. So it really drives some of those connections. It allows you to
It's
do
like LinkedIn, but
polling.
not like LinkedIn.
So it just isn't that. Yeah, exactly. Peer Insights, which is peer-based ratings, technology reviews. So my role is, for our HR customers, what do each of these platforms really need to help move the dial in terms of HR's agenda?
Oh, amazing. So I know a lot of leaders who do have work interface a lot with these very technical platform teams. It can sometimes be a little daunting. Like, do you feel like your background in actual programming, having gotten hands-on programming experience at Hackbright and your bachelor's degree, sorry, your master's degree from Berkeley, is that was that essential? Is that something that just gave you the confidence to dig in? Like, how much would you say you use those day to day, and how do they help you gain legitimacy with those teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hugely valuable because, well, one, like learning those things required me to learn attention to detail at a level I didn't have that is like so valuable. Um, Two, I feel like I better understand like where those teams are coming from and why they might not have seen a gap that I see, right? Like I just understand like, oh, you have this view and I have this view. So here are the things that we need to connect on, and here are the things that I need to tell you like way in advance, which might be a big deal or might not. So definitely a better communicator. Um, yeah, had
And
another one, but
collaborator, right? Like, I
and
think that's,
collaborator. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's the key. I mean, I think there's a combination of having a mind, like almost like an engineering mindset that, like, I don't know if it's necessary that you spend a long time as a programmer professionally in your job, but being able to actually be like, oh, this is how they're going to approach the problem.
Yeah. And then I would say, I do analyses on my product line that I think they would be a little bit difficult, like without having the knowledge of the business to know like what what the results would mean, and therefore like what we should do. So it's pretty selective in terms of like when I can do that, but I feel like I know like, oh, this is a power, like I'd love to run regression on this and like make sure we're actually looking at the right things. Like we have some assumptions, but like let's check them. And I feel like we also have this scale to make those things be super impactful. So I really enjoy that piece.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that overlap, right, of the business side, but then the technical skills to both, collaborate with those teams. But I certainly found it handy every once in a while to pull my own data sometimes if you're just like, I have a hunch, but I don't know if this is something I'm really going to write a ticket to a team to put in a sprint.
Product analytics loves that. They love it when I do that. Yes.
Exactly. Thank you for not putting this on our plate.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, that's amazing. Fantastic. So, as someone who's leading in this area, you're in touch with tech teams who are trying to stay on the forefront, build innovative platforms. What are some of the trends that you're looking at these days that you're keeping abreast of?
Yeah. So I guess just first, starting from the client side, there's low barriers to entry around Copilot and like the Google platform suite, right? But I think where it becomes interesting and where there's more competitive differentiation is like the integration of that into business processes. And I feel like that's not always the way that's been looked at, right? And it's like, how do you connect the dots? Relatedly, on the vendor side, I think it's pretty interesting that digital worker offerings, how that connects, right? Because it's like, I'm not offering software as a service or like an AI enabled tool, but I am offering you this customer service employee, right? So
Like an AI enabled employee, or like they're trying to use pricing models as if you were hiring an employee, but it's really AI under the hood, or
yeah, they're positioning it. I mean, they're saying like this is AI, but they're positioning it like this is an employee. So if you are a small organization, like have this be your main person, but if you're a larger organization, have it augment. And so, see that in sales, in recruitment, sourcing, in customer service, right? So I think the connection of those two trends is going to be interesting, especially like in the buyer's mind, does it make a change, right? Like,
right. That's so interesting. I remember seeing some trends along that lines that were like, if AI ends up with more vacation than me, I'm gonna have a fit.
yeah, yeah, and they're all like, it's an employee, but they're available 24/7,
Right. No
like,
vacation and yeah, never takes sick time. Wait, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I hope it doesn't exacerbate that trend of like thinking of real human employees more like machines. Being like, why can't you compete with this other employee? What are you talking about?
yeah, like how do we compare in the
We should all
calibration?
aspire
Like,
to be online 24 hours and never get tired. Like that's
right,
I'm not on board with
no,
that. Oh my
nope.
goodness. Any other big trends you see coming up?
Um, I mean, I think like integration, I talked about business process integration, but like integration more broadly, right? Like I think the same, I guess is actually a very old trend between like best of breed and like one thing to rule them all. Like even though integrations are simpler, it's like just the level of complexity and purchasing effort required is, I think, swinging the pendulum a little bit more back towards best of breed, but in a way that's focused on like information and accessibility and integration, knowing that like your users need to be able to access that information for a variety of different ways, right?
Oh yeah, but that's it. I think we still have not worked out at all the UX patterns that people are going to be using for this at all, right? And we spent way too long thinking it was going to be chatbots everywhere for some reason.
Yeah,
ChatGPT.
and I think like another reflection on that, I'm curious what you think about this, is like the growth in these like very flexible low code workflow tools, right? Like Monday.com, Notion. Um, so like in marketing, for example, you can automate like, generating copy and stuff like that, but it's the approval process that is still more of like the sticky wicket, right? So how do you automate that? And just the need for flexibility in those tools, I feel like is why we're seeing some of the growth, but curious what you think.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because everyone doesn't, they don't want to make a tool for like a particular company and their workflows, right? They're like, whoa, I want to make a tool that handles marketing, not like exactly, let's customize it to your process. So they end up with these really customizable tools. This is kind of the problem with the no code tools, right? Is that they're so flexible and you can do anything, but that leaves the user kind of going like, okay, where do I start? I don't have a real workflow here to get my head around what to do without some hand holding or something. And so I always think of like Jira was like this for tracking tickets, where you're like, you can track it any way you want. And then you just have too many options.
Right.
And it doesn't end up, it ends up just putting the, like, anything that has complexity, if you try to make one part simple, the complexity just moves elsewhere in the system. So now the complexity becomes setting it up because it's so flexible, and you're putting that on the user instead of actually meeting them with like, hey, here's exactly what you need in this, in this more narrow niche. So I think the things that will do well are actually looking for smaller niches. They're not going to be these like billion-dollar unicorn companies. Those guys will, I think, get eaten by the big players. Are like Microsoft is like, if it's productivity, we're probably coming after it.
Yeah. It's like you actually already have access to it. Just find it out. Yeah, I think it's always interesting, like whose job is it then to optimize the workflow? Like we're very clear of like, oh, IT and HR, like you need to drive adoption, but who needs to like make it work, especially in a like no code environment? Like,
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, even in high code environments, it's interesting the latest trends all around this, like, is AI a big bubble, and like has it really delivered the ROI that we expect? A lot of it is saying, oh, there's 77% of employees think these take more time and they aren't seeing the advantages. Do you think it's largely just, is it a failure of like HR isn't driving adoption enough, or is it that like, no, the system just aren't meeting employees, like aren't customized enough to employees in their existing places? Is there not enough ongoing education? Like, what do you see as those barriers to adoption right now?
I mean, I think as you've kind of pointed to, like I have some skepticism about those takes. So, for example, like I think McKinsey's data that came out in May was like 72% of large enterprise are using AI. The surprising thing is then if you look back at 2020, it was 50%. So like it's like the visibility is massive, right? But like the increase in adoption is good, but like, like we've been using it, right? And then the other thing is the depth of adoption has increased quite a bit, right? Whereas it was like a single function before, now most companies are like two, three, four different functions using AI in some way. But going back to your question of like barriers to adoption, um, I think one of the things again you pointed out in your course was like AI projects are higher risk technology projects. So it's like you can like increase the aperture for like what you're going after, and there's new things and it's like so exciting, but you also have to accept that like these are projects with a higher risk profile. And I think it's really smart to say like, well, let's take the things that are more incremental that we can use internally. Like, I actually think that's a good sign, right? Versus like taking your big swing and like something customer facing first is a very risky proposition that makes sense maybe for, smaller
Yeah.
startups, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. I totally agree. I think I was very annoyed by this take of like, there's no ROI because they're only talking about revenue. And I'm like, everyone was given the advice to start with internal projects. And then they did. Why are you acting like this is not happening when it totally
yeah,
is?
and some of the things like I mentioned that it's not, necessarily a differentiator to adopt some of those things, but it's also like it is table stakes, right? Like if everyone else, we're all under the same margin pressure, and these things are giving you operational efficiencies, like
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and so like the message some people might get is like, oh, we don't need to, if we're slow on adopting AI, oh good, we were smart, we're gonna, we're gonna,
right,
we're like, that's not the message.
right, yeah.
Yeah, that it's coming for everyone, I think, and and people are moving quickly on this. So awesome. So I'd also love to talk about how you got to where you are in the tech and AI space. So you were interested in the space, like what first motivated you to take more technology oriented courses and eventually go and do your master's in data science at Berkeley?
Yeah, I think it was like around 2018. Gartner was saying, many people were saying that, AI would change the game, and I definitely just got piqued my curiosity, and I started kind of taking some classes online. Pretty quickly realized like, oh, I need to learn to code at like a more fundamental level. So then I took Hackbright, and that's an amazing program. Yeah, it was there's a 6 month part-time program and a 1 month getting yourself set up for that, which I also took. But it's completely peer based, like you're peer programming like every single day in the class. It's very project oriented, so that was a wonderful experience, and also like the most diverse like group of folks that I've been in an academic environment with. So I really enjoyed it. It was pretty intense, but that gave me kind of that confidence to kind of go into apply to UC Berkeley. And then while at UC Berkeley, I was actually in a machine learning course when ChatGPT came out. So that was fascinating. And right around that time was when you were a guest lecturer
That's right.
for that class. So that was a
That
very
was really
cool
fun. Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
An awesome group to get to speak to, especially that time. Everyone was so excited.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. And I know too you were part of the Complete Product Leader Blueprint program as well. As far as getting toes wet with more of the generative side of AI. I'm not sure how much they were teaching about transformers and generative AI at Berkeley at that point. I'm sure they've caught up now.
Yeah. So there's an LLM course now, but at the time, yeah, it just was not at the same level or the same like I mean, your course is so focused on like how do you actually create something quickly and get buy-in so you can really build something versus like how do I like steep you in like the foundations of technology so that you understand and you could be part of a larger team. So just kind of coming at it from a different lens, which I really appreciated. Like I mentioned, I think you really focus so much on like cutting out the complexity of the space and focusing on foundational aspects. Like uh, you referenced a lot that weapons of math
Weapons of math
destruction
destruction, still the best title.
and incredible book. Anyone, so if you're interested in AI ethics and that world, this is like a precursor to that is just so well done because it's about how math can be, I guess, misused to create systems that are not like optimal for society. And it's also just written from this brilliant woman's, it's almost like she's created like a very readable, very well researched like rant as, as
Well, it's
like a
like case
brilliant
study. Every chapter
mathematician.
is
Yeah,
every chapter is a case study. That's what I loved about it. You're like, no, but let's not talk in high level terms. It was like, who was harmed by this? What was the system supposed to do? What did the data look like that everyone, didn't see this coming, and then it ended up causing a problem. And it just highlights how bad we are as humans at
right,
anticipating things, especially if they don't really affect people like us in the
right.
long run.
She has this like passion and attention to detail and being a like badass mathematician that
Yeah.
is like, wow, it's
Exactly.
cool.
Highly,
Yeah.
highly recommend. Well, that's awesome. So, aside from weapons of math destruction, if you were to put your advice to people interested in AI who want to get into the space, want to get started, what is your advice to those folks in two sentences?
Follow your curiosity, be kind to yourself because there's a lot to learn.
You got to put your imposter syndrome, like give it a little hug, and then like put it to be like, I
Yeah, just be like,
understand.
it's okay, it's all right. Yeah.
We all feel it. As someone who's a master's in computer science from MIT, it doesn't go away. Sorry.
Yeah, totally. Does not.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So we have time for one last section, and that is plugs. So, Jess, did you have anything you wanted to plug coming up?
Yeah, so Lesbians Who Tech Summit is coming up in New York in September. It's an incredible experience. Last year I got to meet Arlen Hamlin, who's a very inspiring entrepreneur. I met the leader of the Human Rights Campaign. I met Polly in person.
Great. You get
Like,
to hang out in the VIP
yeah,
lounge. It was very cool.
it was very cool. So come to that. Billie Jean King is going to be there this year. I mean,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. It's going to be great. Um, October, Reimagine HR. If you're in HR or you're an HR focused vendor, come join us in Orlando, Florida, Disney World, actually. Um, it's also an amazing event. It's one of the largest gatherings of HR folks and chief human resource officers specifically. Let me know if you're coming. I talk to clients all day and all night when I'm there, and it's a really great time. Um, and then for me, I would love to talk to other product folks around negotiation. That's an area that I'm passionate about, and the impact of negotiation skills in product management is something that I think is not well supported enough. So would love to talk to people about their approaches in that area.
Oh, fantastic. How should they get a hold of you? Try to connect on LinkedIn or?
LinkedIn, yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. We'll make sure we include that in the show notes. Fantastic. From my side, I want to be sure I plug we've got an upcoming masterclass, The Path to AI Product Management. Coming to understand the skills you need to successfully lead and thrive as an AI product leader and how to get the fastest path to get those skills. That's coming up September 3rd. And right now, our doors are open for our next cohort of the Complete AI Product Leader Blueprint. It is now a 4-month program with like an 8-week kickstart at the beginning, but we offer 4 months of support helping people thrive in AI roles. So we kick off September 11th. And finally, I'd always like to plug the show. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Go to your favorite podcast pipe, give us 5 stars, whatever. And if you want to reach out with questions or any further topics we should cover, support at aicareerboost.com. It's been another episode of AI Product Leader. Thanks again so much for joining us, Jessica. It's been an honor and a pleasure as always. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.